A very handy tool to use in Google Docs, slides, and sheets is the Find as well as Find and Replace tool. I like to use Find when I'm looking for particular components in a document or sheet, and Find and Replace is great for when you need to find and replace. I want to show you a couple examples of each, starting out with a document. At the top of the document, I do have the keyboard shortcuts for you. Remember that it's Command instead of Control if you are on a Mac. But to find, you just use Control F, and to find and replace, you can get to it from Control Shift H. I usually actually don't use that second keyboard shortcut. More often than not, I use Command F for me, and I can find things in my document. So here I found the. There's several instances of the. I have 1 out of 29. If I go down with these arrows or backwards with the arrows, it will go through them in my particular document. Now there are 3 dots next to each other, and that takes you to more options. What that does is it opens up Find and Replace. So this is what you get to right away if you use that second keyboard shortcut of Control Shift H. So I have found the, and I want to replace it with something. I'm going to replace it with duck. You do have an option to match case. So what happens if I select match case is only lowercase thes will be found and replaced with duck. Uppercase thes will stay because I want to make sure I'm replacing only the lowercase ones. If I don't care, if I want all of the thes to be replaced, then I will just make sure I don't have that checked. Now, one thing you can do is you'll notice right now I'm on 6 of 29 of my thes, so I can replace them individually. I can go to another one and replace them, say just replace that one. So I'm going to replace that one because you can see it. Replace. Now it's duck. The other thing you can do is replace all. So for example, if I wanted to replace all of the thes with ducks, I could say replace all. I'm going to show you how the match case works too. I'm going to take out the match case and replace all. Now I'm done. So if you go through, you can see I have a capital the that's still there, but I see here's a duck. That means that was a lowercase the. One thing you need to be careful of is it looks like within that particular word, the was there. And since I only wanted to replace the word the, this accidentally got caught in there. And that's where finding and just replacing individual words is very handy. To use Find and Replace in slides, it's exactly the same as in docs. It's a little bit different. You have a few more options in sheets though. So I'm going to move over to my sheet example and show you that. The nice thing about Find and Replace in sheets is that the keyboard shortcuts are exactly the same as the keyboard shortcuts are for docs and slides. So I'm going to use my keyboard shortcut, and I am going to find Monday in my sheet. So right now it found 5 instances because it's just searching in this particular sheet. I have other sheets also, but it's only looking at the one I'm in right now. If I click on the just 3 dots, I can get to my more options. Now I can replace it with whatever I want to replace it with, fish. And here's where I can change my search options. I can search all sheets. I can find and replace all sheets. I can do this sheet, or I can even specify a range in one of the sheets if I wanted to, which can be very helpful if you're replacing only certain pieces of data. So I'm going to show you what would happen if I just chose this sheet. Now you can have your match case just like you did in docs. So do I want it to replace all the Mondays or just the lowercase Mondays? And that if match case is what I want, then what that'll do is it'll only replace the lowercase Mondays. So I can see I only have 1 Monday that would get replaced. I want them all to be replaced though. Another thing you can think about is matching entire cell contents. So matching entire cell contents will allow you to look for Monday in a cell or look for Monday as everything in the cell. I'm going to show you this example on the next sheet that I have. You can also search using some expressions, and I'll show you what that looks like in here. That'll give you a couple of options here if you go in the help. The expressions are just going to be some of the cells that match a pattern and mathematical operators, more or less. And then you can also search within formulas and replace that. Just like before, you can replace all, or you can just do individual ones. So here I have find, and it only has the one lowercase one, or I keep finding, and it will find the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And so I want to replace all my Mondays, just my lowercase Mondays, with fish, and I only want to replace the ones on this sheet. So I have it selected, replace all, and I'm done. So you can see I only had one thing that got replaced because I had the match case there. If I were to go in and not have the match case, I'm going to replace it with ball. And I want this sheet again. Not having match case, but in this case I typed it in capitals, so it works out. I'm going to replace all on this sheet. So now you can go through and see every time I had Monday, it replaced it with ball. Now since I selected just this sheet, I'm going to go over to the next sheet, and I can see that, aha, I still have Mondays. So there was one other thing I promised I'd tell you about, and that was the cell contents. And so here's a cell content that has Monday and another word. So I'm going to open up my find, and I'm going to search for Monday. And right now it finds 5 instances. And it counts that cell as an instance. It doesn't make me match the whole cell. So if I were to replace it with something, and I were just going to replace this sheet, I can choose to match entire cell contents or not. If I do not have this selected, it is going to replace my Monday. So I'm going to replace all. And my Monday got replaced. I'm going to undo that for a minute. There we go. So now, if I want to find and replace the Mondays with the dogs, but if I want to have it match the entire cell contents, I'm going to say only replace cells that are only Monday. Now you can see that that cell remains intact. It's very, very handy when you have a lot of data and you have a lot of data that needs to be switched with another set of data. And so find and replace, very handy tools. Remember that they work for docs, slides, and sheets.